a couple of weeks ago, Bobby Godinez had made the decision to step down as football coach, and he's going to stay on as athletic director. So after 8 seasons at the helm of East Los Angeles College football, he's decided to step down. He's got an overall record of 41-32 during his tenure, which is one of the best stretches of gridiron performance post-2000 and one of the best stretches of play in modern school history. Moreover, in taking the program from the American to National Division in 2018, he elevated ELAC football to successfully compete with the very best teams in Southern California, which we'll get to. We know that the decision was a difficult one for Bobby here. He's proved that he can adroitly balance his coaching duties while being an athletic director and being on the sidelines. We know that being on the sidelines has always been one of his passions, particularly as his student athletes always refer to him as Coach G. So obviously the first question is that, like you said, this decision has come to a shock to many. You just finished your best coaching campaign as a member of the high-level national division. You won your first bowl game as a national division member. You made history with being only the second ever JUCO college football player to set football team program to send an athlete directly to the pros. So the obvious question is, with all the success you had the past year, why vacate the post now?
Well, I think my approach to coaching, or anything for that matter in general, is when I get into something, I want to be able to give it as much effort as humanly possible. Obviously, I've had a dual role, which no matter how you look at it, it takes away from something. However, I've had a great football staff and a great athletic staff that kind of allows me the flexibility to put my, I guess, skill set to the test on both ends of things. And I do feel that, we've done a good job on all ends of the spectrum. But as things, evolve, progress, there are different processes that come into place here at ELAC in the district. There's a lot of different things that kind of come about as you go along in your time. And as things got more difficult, the ability to do both became just a little bit more stressful. And where I tried never to let the student athletes feel the stress of all the things that need to be done. The same thing with our staff here. Where I do feel it is at home. And, I have 3 young kids, a wife that's been very supportive this whole journey that I've been on. And the moment that I felt that I was no longer able to truly balance basically the 3 pillars of my life, it quickly crept on me that I needed to make some decisions. And especially thinking back to, the support of the kids. One of the reasons why I stepped out of Division I football in general is because it is basically a 24-hour a day, 365-day a year job. And I always felt that it, to me, it was unfair to a family if you really want to look at it that way. And I never wanted to compromise that. And that's kind of what led me to this decision. It was a very interesting kind of happenstance with how it all developed. I had actually applied and interviewed here at ELAC 2 years, maybe a year or 2 years prior to actually getting the job. It was open, I believe, maybe 2014 or something like that. And I was, one of the final couple, and ended up not working out, I guess, at the time. And so it kind of led me into other areas. I was at Pasadena City College, coaching there. And one thing led to another. The position came open again, maybe that next year. And I jumped on it, thought it was a good time to really dive into a job and make a program my own. I knew some of the challenges that come at East LA College, and just from a culture standpoint, there really hasn't been a long-standing I guess consistency in this program. I mean, almost at any level, with the exception of most recently basketball, men's and women's, and now football. But it brought me here as a part-time coach. I simultaneously was up for a health job that was open, and ironically enough, I got both jobs kind of separately. You know, there was 2 different committees for the 2 different jobs, and basically I just got both, and the job was merged at that point. It's kind of one of those all stars aligned, and it worked out. However, I don't think the school or even myself planned on it working out that way, but it did.
But even back to that first year, 2016, where's your plan all along to play tougher competition?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you go into this with any other mindset. You know, I think that's what separated our program from 2016 on versus maybe any other, you know, locally, or at least ones that have kind of made a jump from the American to national. And it's 2 completely different levels of play. You know, American is, it just isn't as in depth. It isn't as competitive, and so, you know, naturally, as a former athlete myself, there's no other way to go about it than to play the best and try to compete with the best and figure out ways to make it work. And that first game against Orange Coast, I'll never forget. You know, going in there with confidence, thinking we'd be okay, and we got our butts whooped, and you saw the difference in level. But what it did was it kind of snapped us into gear, and said, okay, well, there are different types of athletes we need to go get. There's different types of approaches and a different amount of effort that we need to be giving, and we adjusted quickly.
Let's go on to 2018 now, jump ahead. The big year, decision, you took the team to the national level, as we talked about. You were then approached by then college president Dr. Marvin Martinez about the athletic director position. You ended the season 4-6, but you were ranked number 46 in the JC Gridiron top 50 national polo JUCO football teams. First time an ELAC football team ranked in the top 50 in more than 50 years at the time. Yeah. You also had a pretty special, pretty significant defensive back. Her name was Tony Harris. Not only was she the first woman to play football for East LA College, she went on to become the first woman to receive a full college scholarship as a non-specialist, making national headlines as she signed her scholarship offer at Central Methodist University. Demonstratively, this was the most attention, appeared to be the most attention the program has garnered since the 1974 state championship season. Have you ever looked back at that season and realized how much it put East LA College and ELAC football on the map?
I think now more than ever, I've kind of looked back and tried to find some real silver linings in the whole, you know, kind of resignation and everything like that. And it is something I'm proud of, just looking back and knowing how we've elevated this program. And it's really hard for people to understand. I think the football coaches in the association, you know, the Southern California Football Association especially, really understand what it takes to take these programs and elevate them like we've done. Looking back to that first year, I mean, yeah, it was a 4-6 season, but I mean, there's 2-3 football plays that, you know, basically all the way up until now that could have changed any season from a 500 season to an 8-9 win season, or vice versa if it went the other way. But you know, in what I value the most is just knowing what the other teams thought. You know, the Cerritos Colleges of the world, the Mount Sacs, the Long Beaches, those that are prominent with culture and you know, a true background into their programs. And we were a real factor when it came to stepping into those conferences with these teams and beating these teams or competing with these teams, and then beyond that, where we were sending our student athletes, which is what I valued the most, you know, Tony Harris being one of those. And yeah, I mean, we really were able to put, you know, ELAC football on the map, and hopefully it stays there for a long time. I mean, one of my biggest goals was, when it did happen, to be able to leave this program in a better place than where I got it. And I believe we've done that, and couldn't have done it without the staff, and I couldn't have done it without, you know, my staff here in the athletics department, you know, to allow me to put enough energy into everything I could to elevate the program. I think I had a unique perspective, and I mean, all the way up until I was at our athletic director convention, you know, for the state last week, and hearing thought processes from athletic directors, hearing thought processes from coaches, myself being kind of on both sides of the spectrum, which is a good bridge, I believe, to be able to take the approach as an athletic director that, I was going to work hard for our coaches. I was going to work hard for our student athletes, similarly to how, as a coach, I worked hard for my student athletes. And I always made sure to keep, what was important in mind, to start. And sometimes it comes at a cost to other things, but I was able to look at it from two completely different lenses. But I think my understanding was beyond most others because I've sat in both chairs, and I sat in both chairs at the same time with an ever-changing, schools, legislation, culture in general, and athletics, and how things are deemed at the next level. I mean, there's so much changing that perhaps if I was only an athletic director at the time, I wouldn't understand a coach's perspective, or vice versa. I was always able to understand both. And I think it's, to be honest with you, I think it's something worth having if you're able to really put the resources into having somebody that can do both like that. But, there are also things that comes cost too, and, you have to weigh those at the end of the day.
Were you ever tempted by the thought that it may have been easier, quote unquote, to build an American division powerhouse instead of wading into the deep waters of national division? And then looking back, how do you feel about the fact that you were able to execute your vision of an ELAC program that can indeed compete with and beat those types of programs at the time?
Well, it was never a thought in my mind to stay in the American division. I don't think it was within reason of what we were trying to accomplish as a program, which first and foremost, you look at the student athletes. My goal always, yes, we wanted to win games, championships, all that kind of stuff. But the truth of the matter is the student athletes that come to our program, or any program at this level, I mean, this is a temporary stop for them for a bigger picture. And them, their families, and whoever is in their circle entrusts myself, the staff, with their lives essentially, and helping them to progress their future and their education and their path towards their livelihood. That was my sole responsibility. And in the American division, just the percentage of those that get to that level are way less than those at the higher, because you have schools, for instance, like a University of Texas that probably travels to California to recruit junior colleges for maybe 1 or 2 days. There's 90 to 100 community colleges in California. They can't get to all those at once, so they're going to go to those programs that they know produce Division I athletes, Division II athletes, as an example. And so my goal was always to ensure that we were sending out the most student athletes to that next level. You can only do that playing against the best, sure, because that evaluation process is a little bit closer to the Division I and Division II level when you're playing, Mount Sac or Cerritos, rather than, whoever is at the bottom at the time. So, and then, once we were up, it comes down to an effort level. I think I always had the right idea of what needed to be done. I've been a part of some really good programs. I've been part of bad programs, and you learn along the course of time what to do and what not to do, what to value, what to not value. And, as I got a little bit older in the business, certain things that are important to a young coach maybe are a little bit more materialistic and unimportant when you're trying to be as efficient as possible with your time. So I tried to become as efficient as possible with how we approached every day, with what was important. Scholarships were the most important thing, then followed with, their well-being as student athletes, and then wins and losses. And so, in the grand scheme of things, my perception of the, success of our program is truly heightened with the thought that we did all those things and took care of what I thought was most important, which was matriculating and sending out student athletes with scholarships.
And there's something you've always preached over the years. You preach to your coaching staff, get guys out, right?
Yes.
Not counting this past year, because we don't have the official numbers yet, but in your tenure, you officially have 134 players have gone on that have gone on to play at the 4-year level since you started in here 2016. talked about the importance of playing a national division, playing against the top, because that competition gets guys those eyes from the 4 years. Not only have you transferred guys to the very top of that competition, was NCAA Division One, but to the universities that play the highest level of ball collegiately in the Division One, which is the Southeastern Conference. So, what does it mean that you have been able to do that, and you have been able to honor and execute your vision of getting guys out, which is something that's really important to you?
Yeah, it's what I'm most proud of. I can, I don't sleep a lot, and I've lost a lot of sleep, at least recently. But I think what gives me the most peace of mind in going to sleep is knowing that we've done right by the student athletes here. I think above and beyond, and creating the culture of talent, creating a culture of academics, making sure that there's a laundry list of things that these student athletes need to do from the moment they get here. And a lot of the student athletes we have here, it's a unique place. It's not like some of the other community colleges that, have that history to where student athletes from the community are just walking into the school saying, okay, I want to go play football. Isn't the case here, there's just so many different barriers that keep student athletes from walking into the doors here. And so we really had to be intentional with our recruitment, intentional with our process, and getting kids out. The staff and I would spend hours and hours in staff meetings talking about the exact process, and it isn't something that's a magic trick. It's a lot of work. We would build databases of every coach in the country at every single level, and we would send an email to every single coach, position coach, head coach, recruiting coordinator in the country at every single level with our list, waiting for responses and then responding with those that they might be interested in. And it's a never-ending job. And my thing was, if I could outwork, and my staff outwork everybody around us, and getting kids from East Los Angeles College to the University of Missouri, the University of Mississippi State, Oregon, Florida, Hawaii, all these different places everywhere, that the surrounding community and those, now looking at colleges to go to, we were on that list of places to go, and I know we were, and I know we are, and that I am very proud of, and I couldn't have done it myself at all. But I do think the blueprint is something that I learned across the course of time as a Division I coach, knowing what are those coaches doing, what am I looking for as a Division I coach, what could make my life easier. And so on the flip end of things, once I took the job here, I was going to make their job as easy as possible, so they'll more likely to take our kids.
Sometimes we hear about coaches up and down the sports spectrum who feel that they're taking a team or a program as far as it can go. And again, like you said, you're not having that history. And there are reasons why certain schools don't enjoy successful athletic pedigrees, different reasons. Was there any point in this current season and school year where maybe the thought crossed your mind that this was the best it would get for you as a football coach?
That's kind of a loaded question. Yes and no. When it comes to a place without a long history, right? There's reasons for that, And I've been a part of, like you said, I graduated from Mount Sac with an AA degree. That's probably the most supported community college athletics program in the country. And
as you call one of the Power Five, right?
Yeah, and it there's no confusion on that. And having been a part of that, I see the things that would need to happen to continue to elevate places like our own. And it takes a long time. It takes a lot of understanding from a lot of people in a lot of high places. And, ELAC's not there yet. I think we've been able to give enough attention for people to say, okay, what else do we need to do? But more things need to be done to help, increase the viability of our programs. And sometimes that also comes at a cost. And I know that's the tough part about, really investing into an athletics program, because it does take away from something else. But my job was always to put every ounce of effort into this program to give us that viability and make that argument. So I also, on the other hand, think that, I mean, we were close enough where we should have been in the playoffs and we should have been, you know, making that run. These last 2 to 3 years, we definitely had the talent to do so. I'll place a lot of fault on my own for that. And I think that's where this decision kind of came into play. Was I felt that I was being stretched so thin that I wasn't able to give the football program everything it needed. And I feel that I'm the reason it cost us a potential playoff run those last 2 to 3 years. And so just knowing that's kind of what led me to these decisions. But, you know, I think the program's right there to continue to take it to the next level. And, you know, let's see if our next guy can do that. If I was worried about it, I wouldn't have been able to do the job effectively. However, it doesn't mean that I didn't have to deal with that perception. And I 100% had to be aware of who and what they might be saying around me to, you know, really ensure that our staff, football and athletic staff, our student athletes never felt that they were ever slighted. And the truth is the football program is the one that suffered the most, you know, because I was always partial to ensuring that that sentiment was never true. And because of that, they got the short end of the stick when it came to time, when it came to, you know, funding, when it came to everything, really. Football got the end. And I put, once my effort level and my focus was shifted to that program, they got absolutely everything. And, you know, the most efficient way to do everything in the football practice, a football approach, a weight room, all that kind of stuff. But they were getting it last. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate that you really have to be self-aware to the point where you're worried about what people might be thinking, to where it might affect actually what some of the program gets. But at the end of the day, I was always willing to do what was right by them and what was right by the staff and what was right by, you know, what's important to me, you know, and to what I felt should be important. So sometimes you just have to take a deep breath and go do with what you think is right. And that's how I've always operated. I think there's a very select few that really understand the word investment as it pertains to athletics and community college. And it's not to anybody's fault, you know. I mean, to a lot of people, this is a job, and you show up to your job, you do what you're supposed to do, and then you go home and you live your life. And for someone in charge of a program, a prominent program, it's more than that to you. And with me wearing both hats, it was way more than that to me. And trying to help those different parts of campus and different parts of our state to try and really find what that investment means. It takes a lot of time, you know, because it's not just, okay, we need to give to your program, we need to give a little bit more money, we need to make sure you have this. No, it comes with an understanding of what we're dealing with. You know, you have to have people, and we have had these people on our campus that say, you know what, I want to help, and really sit down and say, what else do I need to do? Let me understand the processes you go through. Let me understand what and who you're dealing with and where they come from, why they might do the things they do, why they might be far behind or far ahead. It truly takes an understanding to then say, okay, now I know what I need to help to invest into your program to get the returns that you're talking about. And it's really hard for anybody to invest that type of time to understand it. And, you know, some places just have that built-in structure better to where this happened a long time ago. Right. They chose that, you know, athletics and football in this instance.
It's been baked into the culture of the
this is important, and everybody's going to have to accept that and move in that same direction, and you're like-minded. We were breaking perceptions here and breaking barriers, as well as trying to pull those into investing. And it takes a lot of time. It's 8 years and we're still nowhere near where we need to be, even though we're light years ahead of where we started. Right. And
kind of a conundrum, right?
Yeah, so we're just in the middle of just changing that culture and that perception on us. And we've, I mean, in our athletics department in general, we've had monumental movements with Last Chance U, with a Toyota commercial, Super Bowl commercial, with a pro football player going straight from, like, we've done things that nobody else has ever done in the history of community college athletics, in the history. I mean, you can go walk into a gym in France and say, who knows who ELAC is? And you'll have half the gym raise their hand because of what we've had on our campus. We're a worldwide brand because of what we've done. So in doing that, it opens the door for us to have the conversation, say, meet us a little bit further over so that we can change this culture. And it's just an ever process that's, evolving into what it is now, and hopefully will be in another couple of years.
You mentioned a word a moment ago that I find very important that maybe not enough people understand. The word investment. Athletics in general is one of those areas where you need to be invested, and the investment, the word itself, is not something that lends to immediate rewards or immediate gratification. Investment is something that is a long-term plan for greater returns. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that, not saying here, but the word investment, that maybe not enough people and entities understand that the investment of what athletics is and what the greater long-term value that it can bring by needing to put what may be necessary up front for that investment?
Yeah, I think there's a very select few that really understand the word investment as it pertains to athletics and community college. And it's not to anybody's fault, I mean, to a lot of people, this is a job, and you show up to your job, you do what you're supposed to do, and then you go home and you live your life. And for someone in charge of a program, a prominent program, it's more than that to you. Mm-hmm. And with me wearing both hats, it was way more than that to me. And trying to help those different parts of campus and different parts of our state to try and really find what that investment means. It takes a lot of time, because it's not just, okay, we need to give to your program, we need to give a little bit more money, we need to make sure you have this. No, it comes with an understanding of what we're dealing with. You have to have people, and we have had these people on our campus that say, you know what, I want to help, and really sit down and say, what else do I need to do? Let me understand the processes you go through. Let me understand what and who you're dealing with and where they come from, why they might do the things they do, why they might be far behind or far ahead. It truly takes an understanding to then say, okay, now I know what I need to help to invest into your program to get the returns that you're talking about. And it's really hard for anybody to invest that type of time to understand it. And some places just have that built-in structure better to where this happened a long time ago. Right. They chose that athletics and football in this instance,
it's been baked into the culture of
this is important. Yes. and everybody's going to have to accept that and move in that same direction, and you're like-minded. We were breaking perceptions here, and breaking barriers, as well as trying to pull those into investing. And it takes a lot of time. It's 8 years and we're still nowhere near where we need to be, even though we're light years ahead of where we started. Right. And
kind of a conundrum, right?
Yeah, so we're just in the middle of just changing that culture and that perception on us. And in our athletics department in general, we've had monumental movements with Last Chance U, with a Toyota commercial, Super Bowl commercial, with a pro football player going straight from, like, we've done things that nobody else has ever done in the history of community college athletics, in the history. I mean, you can go walk into a gym in France and say, who knows who ELAC is? And you'll have half the gym raise their hand because of what we've had on our campus. We're a worldwide brand because of what we've done. So in doing that, it opens the door for us to have the conversation, say, meet us a little bit further over so that we can change this culture. And it's just an ever process that's, evolving into what it is now and hopefully will be in another couple of years. I've had a lot of good coaches, and I took the same approach with them as I did with the players, which is every coach that was a part of this, one of the requisites for me in hiring a coach, one was just somebody that I knew or somebody that I came as a very close reference. I think it's important to know who you're working with. But they had to have, wanting more for themselves as a coach. I wanted guys that wanted to go to the Division I level. I wanted guys that wanted to go be head coaches in high school and other, I wanted them to want to progress their careers. That was a requisite for me. And almost every single coach that ever came through here had opportunities to go or did go, and to the Division I level straight from here. And part of what I started with was knowing when I stepped foot on this campus, part of the culture and history was that you go to, be a part of Mount Sac, and I walk, down the street or into my hometown or to a football game somewhere, there's going to be somebody that's a former Mount Sac person that would see me and say, oh, that's a Sac dog right there. It's kind of a running joke, even though it's not a joke to, Mount Sac people. Sac dogs is a culture. And you created that sense of family and history and culture within one another. I wanted that for here, and we've more than done that, and part of this, hire that I, we kind of named an interim here was on my first team in 2016. He was one of our captains on our team, and Dwan Drummer, Andrew Tree, Brian Dixon, these are all coaches that were with me from the very, very beginning, and made it all the way to the very end. Essentially, we're here on this staff with me recently, and have been to other jobs, come back or turned down jobs at different levels to stay here. Couldn't have done any of it without them. I mean, you need good people to build good programs. I couldn't have done it by myself. I wouldn't do it by myself. And I know a lot of the staff has taken it a little hard. When you have a change like that, or you have a tough decision that's made, not everybody's on board with it, maybe not ready. And it's hard because I fight the notion of, is it too soon? Is it too late? Am I hurting other people or not? But in the grand scheme of things, like I said, I had to look out for my three little ones that kind of needed their dad, their coach themselves. And, that's just the direction it all went. I'm still probably adjusting to the reality, that I'm not the football coach anymore. I've been able to go home a little bit earlier. I've been to a couple of extra baseball practices back at home and stuff that I wouldn't usually be able to. So that part is is enlightening and positive. I think it's really going to kind of set in as football season gets going a little bit closer to the end of summer, where I am not going to be out there calling plays, directing, kids around and trying to put them in the right places. I think it'll affect me, because I do feel that there is a lot still to be given to the program. But for now, I think it's good. I really want to be refreshed. I want to be able to step out for a few and recharge the batteries, and whether it's at that point then continuing to give as the athletic director the best of my ability and continue to help coach my kids, then that's what it's going to be. If it's jumping back in another capacity, maybe that's what it is. But I think it's important with everything that we've given to this program to be able to step back and take that deep breath. I've had that experience actually a few times, leaving the Division I level. I was able to, have a handful of months off before I got another job. That, kind of enabled me to really look at that next job with a lot of aggression and passion, where maybe if it was one transition into the other with no time in between, there was no break, it can kind of wear you out. The same thing taking this job. That Pasadena year was a little bit of a break from football. It was a track and field year. But once I tackled this job, it was 100 miles an hour because I was refreshed and ready to go. I would never want to do a coaching job without being able to emotionally give everything that program deserves. And the moment I felt that, I was fighting that, I had to step away so that my next venture, whatever it might be, is full go from a coaching standpoint. But it allows me to continue to give all that effort and passion in the job that I'm in.
We interviewed him earlier in the season, back in August, and that's where you mentioned that you have had your eyes on him since he graduated from your college. What went into your decision to choose him as interim coach?
Well, there were a lot of options, I think, just because I've had such good staffs in the past, and a lot of those guys are at places they're at right now. Coach DeJuan Drummer would have been a natural choice as well. He opted to go do other things and pursue, bigger and better things, which I think is appropriate for him. Arnie is young and hungry, and I think where this program is gonna really take off because of him is that energy, that young energy. Because this job can take it out of you. It really can. There's a lot to it. It's not like you're just showing up and coaching, and you're showing up and saying, all right, let's recruit some kids, get out there and call plays. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. There's this program is unique in that sense. And so it needed kind of that breath of fresh air, that someone that was young and ready to go. And I'm still going to be here for, to support him and stuff like that. So for him, I thought it was a good choice to name him interim. I mean, we're going to run the position. I mean, it'll still be, up in December, and he'll be part of that. But, we'll open it up and see who else is interested and go through the official process. But I think for now, it was the absolute right choice. And we wanted to make sure we have some good talent on campus right now. We wanted to make sure that they stayed and had a familiar face, and Arnie wanted the job. So, I think it was important for someone to keep things going in the same capacity, the same direction. Leaving a Division I level of coaching, that's such a volatile level in its own right that you never know whether you're going to have a job from one day to the next, whether you're going to be elevated, fired, having to move across country or back and forth. So there was always a level of you're worried about the security of things. Right. I'm blessed to have such a great faculty position here at ELAC, an athletic director position, that giving up the football part was giving up a passion, not giving up my full job, and so I'm still able to support my family. I'm still able to hang out with you guys and show you guys what we need to be doing in this program, in general, all that kind of stuff. But I'm glad I'm still here, and that was kind of in the decision, which I'm not leaving ELAC. It's just a break from football.
What do you think might happen, say, in a year down the line, maybe a year or 2 years, when you feel like maybe that battery, that passion battery for coaching may be charged up again?
I don't know. My goal is to start taking it one step at a time and one day at a time, which I've never really been able to do. I'm always looking at the next thing, for my past forever since I've graduated college. What was next? I need to elevate. I need to do this. I'm in a place, I'm home. I'm in a place that I want to be. And so I want to be able to kind of cherish where I'm at. And then again, the kids, my kids, I'm going to be able to spend time with the two younger boys that need it. They're getting into sports. It was actually, I know everybody, the COVID experience was tough for everybody. For me, it actually was a year to spend with my daughter and help her to progress as a softball player. And she's turned into one of the best softball players in the country. And that was probably jump-started by my ability to be there with her at home for a year, because of COVID. Now is another opportunity for me to help jumpstart, maybe my boys into what they want to do and help them to, just be the father figure I need to be. And that could take a few years. It could take a long time. It could take no time at all. I don't know. And then, things are going to come my way. It's natural in the coaching business. And, who knows what the future holds, but I'm excited about continuing to build this athletic department and getting our coaches the support they need, because it isn't where it needs to be yet.
Right.